Pennsylvania, for yielding. Mr. Speaker, there are ongoing attempts to suppress the valid legal vote of some communities in this country. Earlier efforts to stop selected Americans from voting, such as literacy tests and poll taxes, were overturned by this Congress. But while the tactics of these people have changed, their strategy remains the same: intimidation, discourage, or otherwise prevent certain groups of American citizens from voting. Current tactics include burdensome voter ID laws, outrageous registration requirements, dishonest, inactive voter lists, and unlawful disenfranchisement of ex-offenders. To these flagrant tactics, proponents of voter suppression have added more subtle approaches, including disinformation campaigns and behind-the-scenes quiet and unfair purging of voter rolls. Now we are presented with their latest plan to deny certain Americans their right to vote: the elimination of two programs whose sole aim is to ensure that every American's voice is heard in our election. The Presidential Election Campaign Fund and the Election Assistance Commission are in need of strengthening, not elimination. They help make sure that all voices can be heard and that all votes will be counted. I support improving these programs, but the only reason to want to eliminate them is to further suppress votes. The votes of the same groups who were targeted by Jim Crow laws decades ago. The votes of the same groups who are now targeted by inactive voter lists and voter ID laws and all of the other new tactics designed for a single goal: voter suppression. I urge my colleagues to defeat this bill and defeat yet another attempt to stop American citizens from voting.
The gentleman's time has expired. The gentleman from Mississippi.
Mr. Chairman, I yield 2 minutes to the gentleman from Wisconsin, Mr. Sensenbrenner.
Gentleman is recognized for 2 minutes.
Mr. Speaker, I can't believe what I just heard from my friend from Missouri. Doing away with the Presidential Election Campaign Fund is not a Jim Crow law. And I'll put my record alongside his on ensuring voting rights to minorities as the author of the latest extension of the Voting Rights Act and one who got the 1982 compromise passed and signed into law by President Reagan. The Presidential Election Campaign Fund was destroyed 3 years ago by President and then candidate Barack Obama. He refused to be bound by its restrictions. Senator John McCain was, and he was put at a significant disadvantage in the general election campaign by running against candidate Obama, who rejected the election campaign funds and raised huge and unlimited amounts of money.
Would the gentleman yield?
I have a limited amount of time. If I have time left, I'll be happy to yield. This year, so as not to disadvantage themselves, that means none of the Republican primary candidates have signed up for presidential election campaign fund money. The Obama money-making machine is running all around the country, and we see this in the newspapers, we hear it on television, and because